I mean, that's where all those school shootings were.
You know, you think that, but there's more people like our age at the school I'm going to than like there are in this town. So it's like, dude, I mean, for all the crazy people that could be there, I mean, you're bound to find someone like you. So I'm not worried. I'm super psyched.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're alive. So welcome anybody who's watching to the third episode of our book club, second episode of Hitchhiker's Guide, where we will be discussing chapters 2 and 3 of the book. And I'll break it down this time. So in chapter 2, Ford had already brought Arthur to the bar, and they're talking and trying to mellow out, and he kind of lets it slip while drinking that the world is coming to an end, and different drinks and stuff, and about the galaxy. And nobody believes him that the world's ending until like the very of the chapter. And then when chapter 3 comes around, the Vogan fleet arrives, and their ships shake everything, and they announce, hey, we're kind of turning your world into a bypass. Kind of going back to chapter 1 there. And at the very end of the chapter, they turn the world into a bypass. And that's where we are. We can begin discussion.
First, because I've never read it, all I can say is, wow. Like I heard this book is like really good, but like just the way they present it, it's almost like kind of like that Zelda game, Majora's Mask, where like the world's coming to an end and no one believes them, you know? So it's almost like this feeling like, you know, the world's coming to an end, I know it, and like the alien knows it, but nobody else in the bar knows it. So it's created this really cool sense of impending doom in the bar. So I just really like that setting that the author creates just for these 2 chapters.
Yeah, one guy in the bar even just laughs him off altogether, even after everybody else starts believing him. Yeah,
and doesn't he have like some sort of device that almost like exudes an aura on the bartender? So like even the bartender kind of believes him, but he doesn't know what he's believing.
No. It was this feeling that everybody has, this tingling that connects you back to your home when you know something like wrong is about to happen, and the tingling gets stronger the further and further you away from home. So the bartender, who isn't that far away from where he was born, feels it slightly. And then they're like, well, if you can imagine him feeling it slightly, imagine how much Ford feels it right now, being millions of miles away from where he was born in Beetlejuice.
Light years away or something like that.
It's funny, you know, he's an alien, you know, he's been away for 15 years, but he's like really calm about it. Like if it was me, you know, I thought I was gonna die, and he's just sitting there calling me like, the world's ending, you know, let's just drink, you know.
Ford isn't gonna die because he has a hitchhiker, and he's been waiting for this moment. He's been waiting for a ship to come. And the device that he has in his satchel is a device that'll show him who's coming to pick him up that he can hitchhike with.
Well, it's not that he's completely carefree, though.
Time that we see Ford really feeling a sense of loss, that he realizes, it's the Vogons.
Well, we don't even see the Vogons yet. I mean, chapters 2 and 3, we don't even...
But he has like this kind of like...
You hear them over the PA.
Oh yeah, the world's about to end, so... Hear them, yeah. Hear the main guy gone. But Ford knows who they are.
Ford isn't completely...
And the humans don't have much of a time to learn who the Vogons are before...
Yeah, because Ford, he is kind of anxious, just not like in the world's going to end kind of way, but more like a father who's planning for a trip with his family type of way. Like he's like, we only have this time window that we can meet, so we have to do this. Let's get our bellies filled. We need to eat these peanuts. We need to drink this beer. We need to get ready. It's time to go. So he's kind of got like that family trip anxiety going on right there.
Am I the only one that really loves the way that the author just... thanks. Am I the one who like really loves how the author describes the ships that come in? It's almost like Rick and Morty, you know, where like the you know like the talking heads like come out of the sky. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, you know. Oh, they're both yellow. It's kind of like the "show me what you got" kind of thing. I mean, I really don't have much more to say about that, except it's just an awesome mental image that they produce. I mean, it's terrifying. It's not like the Rick and Morty show where like you can actually like see what it is. It's almost like just this big blob of yellow death, and you really just have to paint this image in your mind. But yeah, I love it.
It also shows again the insignificance of humanity because no one on Earth could pick them up except Ford's device, which is an Earth-based. And so, like, even it mentions like one place that was actually looking for ships, and they don't even pick it up. And so this just comes down out of the sky, and no one knows, and it's just there. And everyone panic, even though the guide says don't panic, but no one knows that because no one else reads the guide.
Yeah, like the humans don't even know how to react to this. They're just kind of like heads turned up into the rain, just freaking out.
I mean, it's not even like they know the plans.
No, I mean, I would.
Isn't that what they say? Like, they're supposed to go to Alpha Centauri to find the plans, and they didn't even see it, but it's like, oh, well, you know, we destroyed anyways.
Yeah. Well, I just love how this perfectly mirrors what was happening with Arthur in Chapter 1, where everything about it's like, they're here to destroy it. Nobody was aware that they were here to destroy it. Well, you know, Arthur, you could have went down to Town Hall, to the center, to the meeting room, and you could have found the plans in this very obscure spot. It's like, oh, well, people of Earth, you could have went to Alpha Centauri to find the plans to know that you were going to be destroyed over these last, I think, what was it, 50 years that they had the time?
Yeah. It even the fact that the giant somethings are yellow, which harkens back to the bulldozers that are yellow that Arthur sees. So just that picture of irony. Arthur is so in his own little world that he doesn't even notice it until he trips and sees what's happening in the sky.
Yeah. He's so busy
so caught up
trying to make sure his house doesn't get destroyed that he doesn't realize that his house is about to get destroyed.
Planet's about to be destroyed. But it shows that... Oh.
No, I keep interrupting.
It shows that, like, especially Arthur, since he's supposed to be the everyman, that he gets so caught up in himself, problems, that you miss the bigger picture. Even though it perfectly mirrors what he's going through. And I mean, it's not going to matter. Your house isn't going to matter. And Ford even says, like, oh, you got like 5 minutes to spend this £5 note. Okay, you could go on.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really like that. It's almost like The Hobbit, you know, like Bilbo's kind of doing his own thing, you know, and Gandalf's got like, he knows all this crazy stuff about the world, you know, like Sauron, you know, the world's ending, you know, the whole quest and all that, to find the dragon, and Bilbo just wants to be, you know, like, he just wants to be Bilbo, you know. I like the similarities.
And in the newer movie and in The Hobbit, Martin Freeman plays both Arthur Dent and Bilbo.
I know he's a great actor.
Just a fun little...
Like, you know, like, going about different worlds, I just love the way, like, you know, going back to the author, like, just the way he did, like, the amount of detail just in these 2 chapters, like, just talking about the towel, I mean, like, let's take a look here. Like, phrases like the ravenous bug bladder beast of Trawl, and then something about the moons of Jacqueline Beta. I'm just reading this. It's like, I can just imagine this guy, like, I don't know what drugs he was on, but I want to take this drugs. Like, just the way that he described, you can tell that he, like, was probably sitting in his bathtub or under the stars, and he's been thinking about this stuff for, like, I don't know how long. But he
knew exactly what drug he was on. It's called alcohol.
I don't know, man. Like, I wouldn't get those kind of thoughts. Maybe it's just him, you know? But he just...
he was known to be drunk a lot when he wasn't working.
Yeah, but the more I read this guy, just the more I'm amazed at the amount of thought he put into the background.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. One of the things I like most about these two chapters are these are the ones that really introduce you to the Hitchhiker's Guide itself. It gives you passages from it and lets you understand the nature and characteristics of the guide.
Exactly. And
Like,
it kind of like
chapter
the way he
2 opens up with the alcoholic drink.
hmm And it's an encyclopedia, so like no surprise. But like when I thought the book would just like stop giving, it just keeps on giving. And I kind of read ahead of the chapters, and I'm not gonna spoil it. But just the way like they describe different worlds, the fantastical ways they describe them, it's almost like Futurama, just like the crazy aliens there are. It's just I'm mind blown at the way he describes these things.
And another thing to remember always is that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy sells rather better than the Encyclopedia Galactica. That is a notion that will pop up a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I never got the whole thing with the towel. Like, I'm not like because like in English class where they always have like that one thing that the teacher latches on to. Like the towel is symbolic of like Christ's blood or something like that. Like I mean the towel seems to be pretty big in this chapter, and I don't know if that's just like a one-time thing, but I mean maybe it's something we can watch out for the next couple chapters and see if that tracks.
Oh no, the towel is very, very important to this book.
Always.
In fact, for anybody who will be reading along, again, not spoiling anything, but do keep a lookout for the towel because it is a heavy foreshadow right here. The towel will be important later.
I mean, that's kind of his trademark, isn't it? I mean, the beacon's not really a marker of being a hitchhiker, but the towel definitely is.
Yes, well, it is the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can have.
It's almost kind of like, I mean, going back to the Lord of the Rings thing, it's almost like the Ring, It's like a lot of these adventures, it seems like there's that focal point that the other characters' actions with the main characters on. Like, for Frodo, it might be the One Ring, but in this case, it might be the towel. So I guess we'll kind of see different characters and different species. They'll react to the main characters differently, depending on who's got the towel. Just my guess.
Well, and there's also some metaphorical stance to why something as ridiculous and simple as the towel is picked. Because not only did he give you this really long list of all these different possible ways a towel could be useful, but a towel is typically thought of what you use in your washroom. And it's basically the first thing that secures your naked body from the elements before you get dressed. It's what dries you off. It is a part of your home. It is a part of your safety net of life. So this one thing that carries with you is basically a metaphorical way of saying that you carry your home with you wherever you go as a hitchhiker. And then expanding upon that, here's all the different ridiculous ways in which this towel could be useful in the future.
Do you know how many ways you can use a towel? Like, the military issues these crazy towels called woolies, and they're like these microfiber towels. You can do anything with them. You can make hammocks out of them. You can make tents out of them. You can make sweet love on them. You wrap your pets in them, make a little pet burrito out of them. I mean, in real life, man, towels can be used for anything.
Oh, they can.
Well, and even the guide said if someone sees you with a towel, that they assume you also have all the other basic elements to keep yourself hygienic. And if you're missing something, they're more than likely to help you out. So it gives other people a false sense of security, too.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just a traveling towel salesman.
Hey, if you were to be a traveler and sell anything, I think a towel would be a good thing to sell. Be more useful than a traveling vacuum salesman.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, because I've only been reading it again recently, so any specific words from the chapters we've been reading, I believe somewhere in here it even says the reason why the Hitchhiker's Guide was given off in like a tablet type form, which again, this was written way before the tablet computer was even a notion to most people outside of science fiction. And it's because it contains so much information that you'd pretty much have to have like an entire storage vehicle behind you if you wanted to carry around the full guide with you in traditional paperback form.
I think they said several buildings.
Yeah, something like that. It was like crazy.
It seems real weird that not everybody has. It's almost like everyone has the internet, but it's only hitchhikers that have like the hitchhiker internet. It seems like something that every alien would want to have. Just going off the recipe thing, for example, like the alcohol recipe, seems pretty important to me.
Yeah, but that also seems important to you because you are an Earthling who doesn't always travel. Try to think about it from even just a normal perspective, right? If you're going on a tour, if you're a tourist or something, you're going to want to have a map. Not everybody brings maps around with them everywhere, especially people who are used to a route. Or if you are going camping, you might, or something like that. There's so much like galaxy, unlike the rest of the universe, that if you're like a trade router, you may not need it. If you are going on vacation, might sound like something you should pick up, but there might be better things to keep in your person if you have a different job. Be one of the best-selling books in the galaxy, so I think a lot of people do probably own a copy somewhere.
That's a really good point. That's trying to think. You know, like who sells the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Like how do people get these books? Like who sells the encyclopedia?
Well, usually it's some type of organization either sells it, or you can get encyclopedias and stuff like that from bookstores. So I'm assuming there are probably bookstores throughout the galaxy that people could pick up a copy from. Then, judging by how it's described, I'm sure the tablet would fit in the normal slot that a book would on a shelf. So they probably have like many copies in intergalactic bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So, like, moving on through the chapter, I kind of like the way you describe the supreme, what do you call it? The galactic. Help me out here. The guy basically tries to destroy the Earth. You know, he comes across as kind of like a jerk. You know, like he almost seems like he doesn't even want to destroy the Earth. You know,
the Vogon in charge.
Yeah. I love the way they describe it. It's almost like a chore to him. You know, it's like, okay, I guess I'll destroy the Earth. You know, it kind of gives a little more life to his character. You know.
Prostitnik Vogon Jeltz of the Galactic Hyperspace Planning Council.
I guess they're all British too, because they keep on.
Differently too, right? So.
Yeah.
The same type of character as Mr. Prosser, and that is put out automatically.
And I didn't see the new movie.
Mr. Prosser is a contractor. He is the city council to go out there and do his job. Is like this, and somebody who just has to do this by the nature of their responsibility.
Huh. Can you repeat that again? Like you were really cutting out. I think like someone's messing with the Wi-Fi around here. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying is that there's a big difference in character between Prostitnik Vogon Jeltz and Mr. Prosser. Because Mr. Prosser is a contractor who is hired by the city to go out and do his job to tear down Arthur's home, while Jeltz, on the other hand, is a member of the Galactic Hyperspace Planning Council. So as a member of the council, he is out here destroying it. This is more of an obligation or a responsibility to him as opposed to a paying job. And also as opposed to Mr. Prosser, who is like, you know, we're building a bypass because built and is somebody who wanted hyperspatial express route.
Wait, but
He is one of the
say that?
members of the council.
Like, does they ever say Mr. Prosser actually wants the Earth to be destroyed? Because it almost seems like he's either like a body
I'm saying Mr. Prosser, Arthur's house, because he's being paid to.
Mhm. It's almost like
on the
cruel
other hand,
irony.
actually wants the Earth destroyed.
Yeah, it's almost cruel irony. You know, like on one hand, like his house is getting destroyed, and then oh wait, my planet's getting destroyed too. You know. So.
Well, he says, regrettably, your planet is one of those scheduled for demolition. So I don't necessarily know if he was the one made the decision. He's the one carrying it out, at least.
And you know, in this chapter, like,
Could be.
But I think the Vogons have a.
no, go ahead with what you're saying.
Say things that whether they want to or not, so that they could be debatable which way that goes.
Yeah. Although he doesn't have any sympathy at all for the people of Earth.
In fact, he starts to get kind of upset at them, like annoyed.
Yeah, what do you mean you don't know? It's been in the planning office, so you could have gone in Alpha Centauri and find it out. And then when he finds out that Earth people don't know what Alpha Centauri is,
Yeah.
some people who don't understand that other people don't know everything you know.
Yeah, and he just gets
And so
kind
he
of
just
annoyed.
feels-
It's like, well, I'm sorry if you can't be bothered to take interest in your local affairs. That's your own lookout.
But here's the interesting thing, though. They don't say who sends the wavelength. You know, I mean, sure, it's the 1980s, but that's pretty quick to pick up the wavelength. Do you think it was Mr. Prosser who sent it?
No, I think he's still busy at Arthur's house. If somebody somewhere managed the radio transmitter, it was probably either a government official or somebody who worked at some type of because you could probably function a radio telescope to fire a message back.
Right. In this chapter, though, we don't see
Mr. Prosser was running away.
Well, in this chapter, we really don't see much interaction between Mr. Prosser and the Vogons, so...
no, he's running away. Yeah. He's scared.
Yeah.
He's scared like everybody else.
You really don't see an interaction between the two alien species. So I'm not exactly sure how he gets away. So I guess we'll see that in the next couple chapters.
Yeah, well, all the humans are gone. That's pretty much it. Except for, well, this really isn't a spoiler, because how could the story continue on our two main characters otherwise? Shocker.
And I didn't actually see the movie. Like, did you see the movie? Because the way that they describe the humans after they hear the world's gonna be destroyed, like I'm picturing like Day After Tomorrow, kind of like everyone going nuts, you know, Earth kind of ending.
Yeah.
Everyone was.
Houses. Some people are running out of houses. Nobody knows what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's freaking out because we would. These things just show up in the sky out of nowhere, and this giant PA system tells us, "Oh, we're gonna destroy your planet." You would freak out. Have time to process it because it's like it's gonna take 2 Earth minutes to get this done, so you don't even have time to do anything. You just have to accept your fate.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'd probably just.
You know how much I could do in 2 minutes? I'm on a diet right now. I go in my fridge and eat all the junk food I can find. You know, I got Doritos, Fritos. I got like a whole pizza in there. There's no, like, I can do anything in 2 minutes. I can conquer the world in 2 minutes.
I think I'd just find a tree, tilt my hat, close my eyes, and try to fall asleep beforehand. But if not, whatever. I probably won't feel it anyway.
Like, I just want to see like, a
vaporized
montage of these guys, like the last 2 minutes, you know, like slow motion with like the crazy Zelda end of the world music going, you know, like people jumping out of airplanes, you know, people like shoving food in their mouths from the fridge, you know, people like breaking in a Chick-fil-A to steal the waffle fries, you know, like that kind of montage, you know.
Yeah. I just don't think like thing would matter, you know. As you could go and do whatever you want, but it won't matter.
It is interesting.
That's the problem.
There's really no clear indication because we know. I mean, it like you said, it's not much of a spoiler that Arthur gets saved by Ford. That's why he's giving him the beer. He's like, you need this as a muscle relaxer. He's getting him prepared, but there's really no clear indication of why exactly he's choosing Arthur. He even seem to realize what's happening until it's too late. He's so caught up in his own thing. That's the only thing we really know about Arthur is he's too caught up in his own life to else. And he the fact that the bartender was able to have that feeling from Ford of that sense of being far away from home, and that Arthur never suspected that, shows that Arthur really doesn't care, or maybe doesn't. He's just so fixated on himself that he doesn't even notice that. He never suspected. I was trying to say, what if I were to tell you I'm someplace near the vicinity of Beetlejuice? It's like, well, would you say something like that? And Ford is, oh, okay, I'll tell you later.
But you know what the author's doing, though? He's being really smart, because I really like what he's doing. He's not giving us a whole lot of information about Arthur. We're not seeing a whole lot of character development in the first couple of chapters. He's basically a loser, and that's all we know. But it's really good because we're not. It's kind of a blank slate, you know. Like everything that happens from now on. It's basically
there are subtle clues to Arthur's character that are there, and even one of them was like what Kristen just said. From around where he is. They even say earlier that he is from London. That's where he was. He got sick of the place. He moved out here, and it's quite a little ways from London. So being so far from home, he should feel some type of tingly feeling knowing that the Earth is about to be destroyed, whether it's conscious or not. What we do know about the first chapter is that he is a very stubborn person. Very stubborn person. That is the defining trait of what makes Arthur Dent Arthur Dent. And that will carry on into the book later, too. It doesn't matter. All this crazy stuff is happening around him. He still only cares about his problem at hand, and he wants his problem solved. He doesn't care about your problems, are actually his problems. He is a stubborn individual.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the way he handles the end of the world. Like, if it was my end of the world, I would, like, go nuts. But he just kind of, like, he's just sitting there drinking, you know, no care in the world, you know. I kind of dig that, you know.
Yeah.
Because Arthur didn't know it was the end of the world until it was too late, basically. Because Ford even kept trying to tell him, oh, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, it wasn't until just before the PA system went off that Arthur noticed when he looked up.
Wait, does it say that they can see the yellow school buses? I'm just gonna call them yellow school buses because that's basically it's like basically I'm just imagining like a magic school bus coming out of the sky, you know, and like you know Miss Frizzle saying, "Oh yeah, I'm about to destroy the world," kind of thing. You know, that's my mental image. But does the book say like they can see?
Yeah, they can see it in the sky.
I can see them. Instruments couldn't see them coming, but when they were right above Earth, they could see them. And that was when everyone was freaking out, especially after they activated all the giant PA system and tell them, "Oh, we're going to destroy you." But they saw them way before. Yeah, Arthur just didn't notice. At his house.
I feel like that would like kill someone, like if everything around them turned to a giant PA system. That's just what I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, what you would do to make sure you didn't kill everybody is by turning everything around them into a interlinked PA system. So by having everything around them disperse the noise, you can keep the decibel level low instead of making it high enough that it would travel across the entire planet, which would otherwise kill everybody.
I think it's interesting too that they talk about this is like the best sound quality they've ever heard. Even though it's a Vogon, and I can imagine Vogons probably don't sound very nice.
Oh, yeah, probably not.
But the Vogons, I think, in the next chapter, so I won't like spoil too much about the Vogons. But
yeah,
that's kind of the disappointing thing about this chapter. Like the build-up is so great, but it's kind of like it doesn't really give you much left to anticipate going on. But that's what just makes it more exciting.
Yeah, well, it is kind of anticlimactic how the world goes too. It's not like this, terrifying rupture or anything like that. It's just there was a terribly ghastly silence, and there was a terribly ghastly silence again, and that's it. That's how the world went.
It's like what, like 15 words, but it's almost perfect. You know, it's like perfect silence, then perfect terror, then perfect silence. It's beautiful. Until I love this author, he's got away with words.
Well, and it's interesting too that he's focusing on like Ford and Arthur's not even picking up on it, because I can imagine once the ships are visible and after the goes off, all the people in high authority are probably scrambling to figure out, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Movies, focus on that aspect of things. But this time it's the hitchhiker trying to get off the planet before it goes off.
Well, I think it's pretty cool too when you think about it, because same thing that Arthur was already going through, and he's a stubborn, self-centered person. He already is in the mindset that his world was coming to an end in a metaphorical way, because for a lot of people, their houses are their home, like their whole world and everything. So he thought his world was coming to an end, and he's so wrapped up on that, he can't even tell that the world is actually coming to an end. Which is why it's such a brilliant focus on Arthur. It's like he can't even see the forest around him. He's just worried about this one tree that might be coming down.
So yeah, that's honestly, I kind of think that's everything. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Notes.
I'm trying to remember.
One thing I do like, and this is just the irony of it, is this must be a Thursday. Never get the hang of Thursdays. Do this on Thursday. It's just like
Really?
the perfect.
Thursdays, you know?
Thursday is a weird day, though, because it's
Thursday
like
is a weird day.
it's long enough in the week that you're already tired. But unlike Friday, it's not close enough to the weekend to get you energized for being off the work week. Thursday's like this kind of like middle ground drudge day that you got to carry yourself through.
No. You're thinking of Tuesday. Tuesday is the day you're thinking of, because Monday you've got all the energy from the weekend, and then the weekday, when it turns Tuesday, it's like a kick in the nuts and saying, oh, hey, guess what? You got 4 more days of work left. You suck, But at least Thursday, you at least get, it's close enough to the weekend. But
No, see, I never had that, man. Like, because for me, it's like a steam. Like you go through steam for so long, and then it just slowly pulls down until you have no steam left anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me personally, like Thursday,
Like the thing with
I go to the brewery kind of day. But yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, because just the week in general, Tuesdays and Thursdays don't really have anything special most of the time.
Yeah.
Because Monday is the day after the weekend, so everyone's like, oh, I hate Mondays if you have a regular 5-day Monday through Friday day. And Wednesday, a lot of people do gatherings on a Wednesday night. Friday is when you go out and have a good time because it's the end of the work week. week. Saturday have most of the day off. Sunday is usually dedicated to church if you go to church. Tuesday and Thursday, there's really nothing much going on. Interesting that he did choose, it's a Thursday. It's really insignificant.
Yeah, well, there was one thing I liked that they mentioned in here too, and it's a really kind of campy little back and forth, but I love the way that Ford handled it, because he was just kind of forward and nonchalant about it, like, because it didn't affect him, but people always have their beliefs and stuff, and they wonder with people, it's like, well, should we follow our beliefs? And there's this part where he's about to leave, and somebody was like, I thought that if the world was ever going to end, we were meant to lie down and put paper bags over our head or something. And he's just like, well, I mean, if you like. And they're going back and forth, and they finally ask, will that help? And he just like, no, gave him a friendly smile and left.
I know, it's kind of depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, but he smiles as he says this too, almost like this whole little nihilistic view of nothing will help doesn't bother him, you know.
But hold on, does it say he's done this before? Like, is this his first planet he's seen destroyed?
I don't know, probably. They don't mention if he's seen a planet been destroyed before, but he's been all over the place, so who knows what's the extent of the weird things he's seen.
It is interesting, though, his take on it, because, I mean, he never said, like, oh, you shouldn't think that, you shouldn't do that. He's just like, well, if you want to do it, go, it's fine.
It's just not going to help.
You have, like, people who believe in horoscopes, and, yeah, it's not going to help anything. But you have people who believe in horoscopes, or you have people who have little things that they do that they think, oh, this is what's making my life better. I'm my lucky this or lucky that. But really anything. But just let people have their fun. You don't have to be a jerk.
You know, if I learn anything from Shaun of the Dead, is that if the world ever ends, just go to the Winchester, go to the pub, and just wait for it all to blow over. That's what I would do. Like, if I had 2 minutes to live, man, it's like, I'm going to sit at home. Screw this, man. I'm going to hop on, like, get in my car and just go down to the pub, dude. But I guess there's really nothing else you can do.
I would write down the most beautiful words that anybody would ever have read, and then laugh as it gets eviscerated with me.
Well, that was, I don't know if you guys... I don't know if you guys have this part in your copy of the book, but like right before the first chapter, they talk about a lot of trouble on Earth, and people are trying to figure out, and they pass money around thinking that'll help, and it doesn't. And one day on a Thursday, someone finally realizes what people can do to make the world better and to make ourselves better. And it's the Fogon's bypass.
Yeah. No, that part, I don't think that's in the book.
Wait, do you have like some sort of like fancy version that has like footnotes, almost like a Bible?
Well, what I have is this omnibus.
Whoa!
All 5.
Huge! Wow! Wow!
And it's got an introduction from...
Can we see what you're talking about?
Huh?
Can we see what you're talking about?
What?
I mean, you said that they have notes in there.
What's in it? But there's like an introduction from Neil Gaiman. There's an introduction from Douglas Adams himself, and there's like a short story at the end of a character we haven't met yet.
Yeah, you showed it off last time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm reading. So at the beginning of this one, right before chapter 1, it has like this little thing about the Hitchhiker's Guide. It was like a really short introduction, and I thought it was part of the book, so that's why I said something about the last episode.
Yeah, and that's why I made a note that it's like, that's not in the actual version of the book. It is good information to have for the book club. I just wanted people to not be confused if they're reading through a normal version of the book and can't find that information anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if anyone's interested, this is what that looks like. It has all 5 of the books Douglas Adams wrote from Hitchhiker's Guide.
I just got this version I stole from the Russians. I just like downloaded it from a random site. It doesn't even have like chapter pages on. So I'm literally going to the library, finding out where the chapters are at, and then like reading it online. But
no,
it works.
Yeah, so I think other than that, I think it's supposed to be the normal book. Thing that you didn't read.
I'm just going to trying to remember if there's anything else I wanted to talk about from these chapters.
I almost feel too bad. I mean, like, this is really good. Like, this chapter is a really good, like, jumping on point for the next couple chapters. But it's almost like, you know, you want something more. You know, it's like
Yeah.
steak and potatoes. You know, you want the potatoes with the steak. You know.
Well, I've also decided, which is a good time to say it now, even though the next 2 chapters aren't exactly short, exactly long either, so we're going to do 4 and 5 next time. Mostly because the chapters are also really closely related to in content, so it would just be better for discussion.
Can you say that again? You broke up.
Doing both 4 and 5 next time.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not short, but they're not long, and the subject matter of the 2 chapters are very close to each other, so I figured it would just be better for conversation if we did both 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a good idea.
And like when you're reading this just on your own, the way that it ends, this, you know, chapter 3 ends just on and makes you want to go to the next chapter. Anything,
Yeah.
But the next chapter isn't about Earth. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's like, even when you're reading it, he leaves you with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be pretty hard for the next chapter to be about Earth after what happened at the end of this one.
You don't even know anything about.
I don't know, man. Maybe they got transported to some, you know, interdimensional music video battle where that the dance their asses off. I don't know. It was Hitchhikers.
I mean, that would be crazy and entertaining, but at the time in which this was written, if he could predict music videos and stuff like that, that would have been a whole different level of
Oh no, dude! There's music videos.
ability.
It was
Like, I've
79.
seen these, but I don't know how they made money off of those. Like they've got ones with like the Beatles and the Animals, the Rolling Stones, but I mean,
but a lot of those old ones were mostly just like how they do them now, where they have independent music videos. Like when MTV started up, they were for like parts of variety. They were shot for variety shows and stuff like that. And then later they were made compilations. And then even a few of the Beatles' old ones that weren't just on like sound stages were clips from the movies that Ringo Starr made.
Or just Help, which is basically just one giant music video.
Yeah. But like if somebody were to predict like music videos in the form that they are now, that would be some crazy. Most people were taken by storm when MTV did what they did.
Even the fast cuts and everything like that, which you didn't have film, wasn't like that. I'm still impressed though that at 1979 he was able to predict like e-readers, which I guess isn't like too far-fetched, but like to have a pocket-sized computer, because back in 79 computers would still have been pretty big. So to even predict the tablet size.
Do we know how involved he was in the scientific community? I mean, I'm sure they were theorizing, you know, computers were just going to get smaller.
Well, computers had already gotten smaller. You got to remember some of the stuff, like even as far back as up into space and everything, right? Computers back then were about the size of rooms when you had really powerful computers, and Now we have phones that are more powerful than those room-sized computers. And even into these, we had smaller devices. Arcade cabinets or glorified computers and stuff. So we did know that they were getting smaller and smaller, but the idea that you would have, because the way they describe a tablet that has voice activation to it, and I don't know if that's that crazy of a prediction compared to other things. Like maybe it's like, oh well, this is something we want to have but we'll never have, and we actually just figured out how to do it. But it is very interesting that that was the direction that he picked. It's like, well, what would happen if a book was a computer?
I think they had internet in the 70s. Like I was reading, like DARPA did development with the early internet. But like that's what I was saying.
Intranet back then.
Yeah, I don't know who he was talking to or what circles he was in. Like I don't know if he had like a J.R.R. Tolkien / C.S. Lewis like hive mind thing going on where he took ideas from other people. I'll have to read more on that. But if he just came up with that on his own, dude was smart. Really forward thinker.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of borrowed ideas, especially in science fiction. It is a genre where you see the ideas of others and you figure out, well, I mean, how would I do that in my way? Because it's just like science itself. It's the compounding ideas of people before you. And the genre seems to reflect that as a whole.
Yeah, if you take that into consideration, it's not that much of a stretch, honestly. Like I was thumbing through Half-Price books, even like the books for kids from the 50s. You know, they had crazy ideas about going to Mars. You know, aliens. Even with like War of the Worlds from the 30s. You know, a lot of those ideas just building on previous authors. You know, so maybe he was alone. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
I've really got nothing else to add, honestly. I mean, the Red Bull ran out, so it's all downhill from here. So.
Yeah, same thing happened to my Pepsi.
All you wanted was a Pepsi.
All I wanted was a Pepsi.
Oh my Suicide reference. I love that. Nobody ever gets that anymore. I actually saw them in concert about a year ago. They were awesome.
And I had a couple other notes, but I kind of came over here in a hurry, so I was mostly all my talking points were remembered at the top of my head.
Oh, totally.
So I'm just flipping back through right now, seeing if there's anything else that struck me.
I did think it was interesting when they were at the bar that Ford is just so flippant about the world. Oh, well, it's a good weather for it. That you don't really listen to what people are saying, or it's so outlandish. The truth can sometimes be so outlandish you don't know how to react.
Well, I mean,
they probably just thought he was
good weather for the world ending is like, well, maybe good weather here. It could be a typhoon on the other side of the planet for all you know.
Right.
And I love it too. And this is a big difference between the recent or the more recent movie. I can't even call it recent because it was like what, half a decade ago. But between the movie and the book is that they kind of make Arthur a bit more prepared in the movie, and I like that he is less prepared here, because I believe in the movie Ford grabbed a towel for Arthur to put around his neck.
Oh yeah, I think he did
in
the movie.
If you got your towel, and then Arthur's just like, "What? No, why would I have a towel? Should I?" And clicked his tongue in irritation, kind of like that, being annoyed that he doesn't have his towel with him. It's like, well, I mean, you've never let him see the Hitchhiker's Guide. He didn't know there were aliens before this. So, like, why would he even be aware that he should have his towel with him at all times?
Right.
Well, and I even like in the movie, because Aaron, you were saying if it would be funny to see what people are doing when the end of the world is happening, and all you really see is like the bar and people put bags over their heads and lie on the ground.
Are you serious?
Well, I mean, there's
And I think there's like a few of
in some places.
Yeah, they
almost like some sort of like unicorn or like kitty print kind of thing, you know.
they just put like brown bags over their heads and all of them laid on the ground waiting for the inevitable. And then like you just see the earth and it just goes poof, poof.
Yeah. It's like...
That's not my experience with the drunk British people, but I mean, if that's what they do in the movie, you know, it's whatever. Personally, if I was in that situation, I'd be pounding away like it was no tomorrow, you know, like, you can't get a hangover if you're dead. So.
Yeah. Speaking of differences with the movies, one of the things that I always get let down when I go back and watch it, back to last episode when they were talking about how Ford kind of like tricked Mr. Prosser into lying down in front of the like steamroller, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
While in the movie, all he did was show up with like a shopping cart full of beer and bribe them all to stop doing it.
That's right.
But that would be like a really
fun
film, you know. I mean, you'd almost need kind of like a Goodfellas, like that. You know, that scene in the intro to Goodfellas where it's like that 2-minute long shot. Like I can maybe see that, but that seems like it'd be really difficult to pull off in film. You need a really good actor to do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure who played Mr. Prosser, but I don't know if they could pull that off.
Honestly, of all the people who were described in the early parts of this book, Mr. Prosser was the only one who looked the way he was described in the book.
Really? Like what do he look like? I get the mental image of like one of the XCOM Thin Men, or like one of those like the really tall, lanky-looking guys. You know, like LeBron James, you know, but like his face is all pulled back, and he's about to, you know, do alien things.
He's described. Mr. Prosser is
Jam,
described being round at the turn. Not when you think about the Thin Man type thing, but
that's right. Yeah,
the contractor, and Mr. Prosser is described as being round at the turn. So he, as the contractor, he's like this portly guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "You've got to build a bypass because bypasses have to be built."
Mm-hmm.
And he actually kind of looks like how they describe him. Ford, completely human. They actually picked an actor who was taller than Arthur for Ford, which is weird since Ford is described as not being conspicuously tall and Arthur's described as being tall. So you'd think this part of the dynamic, while probably not important at all, just by description would be something you would be looking for in actors.
I think it's funny, like in films, like they so often cast these really good-looking people, but then in the books, they choose these really unassuming, just ordinary people. I think that sometimes maybe people might connect more with the books because maybe they see more of themselves in the main characters. Like you're not a Chris Pratt in real life, but you might be a Bilbo, you know, and that's okay.
Yeah. See, I would have cast Steve Buscemi for Ford. Ford's description, I think Steve Buscemi would be a perfect casting for that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the tall factor and like the dark hair, I think Martin Freeman did a pretty good Arthur Dent.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good casting choice.
But I can't remember what was the name of the guy that played Ford.
I don't remember. I could tell you the other actors, but not him.
Yeah. Well, I do like quite a few of the picks that come later, but those characters haven't been introduced yet.
I think they get introduced next week.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think they get introduced like the end of 5.
Yeah.
What, like the second main characters?
Yeah, the rest of the main crew, I'm pretty sure, get introduced in 5. It's been a while since I've read it. I know what 4 pretty much takes place of. I just don't remember how fast they get to the other characters.
Yeah, not to spoil it, but the next chapter they have a sort of a Zap Brannigan kind of guy. You know, I'm not sure if he's a main character, but yeah,
that means they come in at the end of 4. Then, yeah.
Yeah.
They had gotten to him. No, that Zap Brannigan guy, he is a main character.
Like, I'm not sure like how much influence Hitchhiker has had on the whole sci-fi genre, but I really see a lot of similarities between that and drama, or really just a lot of just sci-fi. There's a lot of parallels. That's what I'm trying to say with popular culture today.
Well, the thing is, it had less influence on the sci-fi drama and more on the influence towards the genres of like satire and comedy than anything.
Is that what we can expect more of, like satire or comedy, or both?
It's a bit comedic, but I think it had more to do with the satire at the end of the day.
And what are they trying to satire exactly? Is it the mood of the era? Is it the state of the genre? Is it past classics like War of the Worlds or 1984?
It's more of a critique of, like, I guess era would be part of it, but it's more of how people view life. Important
everything.
People, yeah, and how important people feel like there's a meaning to everything. It's very like I said last time, delves into absurdism, which is in the same like the unity of existentialism. There's existentialism, there is nihilism, and then there is absurdism. And unlike its sister philosophies, absurdism recognizes that there is no greater meaning to the universe, but instead of just giving up, or even instead of just constructing your own meaning, you are to persevere anyway, say to hell with it, and find some type of meaning in it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So far, we're just seeing nihilism from, I guess, just the bar scene. We'll see if that keeps on tracking throughout the book. You know, maybe we'll see more character development, maybe see a more existentialistic viewpoint from Ford or maybe Arthur. But, you know, I guess we'll just see.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. Like, individual characters will have their different viewpoints, but you'll see a lot as the book goes that it is a very absurdistic book. And that's even kind of the whole point to everything is because we'll even find later that there were people who were looking for a greater meaning, and the whole point to everything is that there is no actual greater meaning, but you should just persevere and find the meaning, like your own meaning anyway.
It's pretty deep for a kid's book, but
it's not much of a kid's book.
No. Kids book.
Really?
It's definitely, I would say young adult is probably the primary audience for this book.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Anyway, that is pretty much all the time we have anyway. So I'm going to stop the broadcast in a second. After I remind that we're reading chapters 4 and chapters 5 this week. So next week, that's what we'll be discussing. And if you watched this far, I should have said this at the beginning. If you watched this far and you didn't see the previous episodes, you should go back and watch at least the episode at the beginning of this playlist where we talk about chapter 1. Hopefully you're somebody who's read the book before if you didn't watch the previous episode, to the point where we are talking about. Anyway, we will see you next week.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.